Iran's biggest mistake was not just the closure of the Strait of Hormuz. It was the belief that the selective nature of the blockade would provide them with diplomatic leverage without triggering a total existential threat. By allowing some neutral ships through while targeting those linked to the U.S. and its allies, Tehran thought it could divide the international community and force a favorable ceasefire. Instead, they gave the U.S. administration a clear and present danger mandate. Tehran misread the current American leadership's appetite for restraint, failing to realize that in 2026, the threshold for strategic patience had evaporated. They bet on a long, grinding war of attrition. They received an ultimatum that threatens to end their civilization in a single night. As the clock ticks toward midnight GMT tonight, the atmosphere in Tehran is one of grim defiance and terror. President Donald Trump has been explicit. If the strait is not reopened and Iranian threats to global shipping do not cease by the deadline, the U.S. military is authorized to decimate Iran's infrastructure. The target list: bridges, power plants, and communication hubs. The goal is not just a military defeat, but to literally bomb the country back to the Stone Age. The human shield. In a desperate response, the Iranian government has called upon its youth to form human chains around critical power stations, hoping to deter U.S. precision strikes through the threat of massive civilian casualties. The 14 million. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian recently claimed that 14 million Iranians have volunteered for martyrdom, signaling that the regime has no intention of backing down before the clock strikes 12. The Strait of Hormuz, usually a teeming artery of global commerce, has transformed into a naval graveyard and a high-tension kill zone. First one, the selective blockade. Iran's IRGC has not laid a physical carpet of mines across the entire 21-mile-wide passage. That would be an act of war even their allies couldn't ignore. Instead, they use selective interdiction. The green list. Ships from countries like Turkey or those carrying humanitarian aid, under strict IRGC inspection, are occasionally permitted to pass. The red list. Any vessel with even a tangential link to the U.S., Israel, or the U.K. is intercepted, harassed, or struck by suicide drones and fast attack craft. Second one, the economic chokehold. The functional closure of the strait has sent shockwaves through the global system. Oil and gas. With 20% of the world's oil and 25% of its LNG trade stalled, prices have surged past $100 per barrel. Shipping costs. Insurance premiums for war risk have jumped from 0.2% to over 1% of a ship's total value, making it commercially suicidal for most firms to attempt the crossing. The reroute. Hundreds of tankers are now diverting around the Cape of Good Hope, adding weeks to travel times and billions to global inflation. Third one, military dominance versus guerrilla naval tactics. While the U.S. and Israel have conducted Operation Epic Fury, launching over 900 strikes in the first 12 hours of the war, Iran has transitioned to asymmetric naval warfare. They are using hidden missile batteries along the rugged coastline and motherships, disguised as commercial vessels, to launch swarms of drones. To understand the current status, one must look at the layers of escalation that led to this April 7th deadline. The power vacuum. The war began on February 28th with the assassination of Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei. His son, Mojtaba Khamenei, took the reins, choosing a path of maximum resistance over diplomacy. The lost airmen. Tensions peaked last week when Iran shot down an F-15E and an A-10. The subsequent U.S. rescue mission, dubbed an Easter miracle, saved the pilots but solidified the U.S. resolve to end Iranian anti-air capabilities once and for all. The regional darkness. Iran has threatened that if their power plants are hit tonight, they will retaliate by plunging Saudi Arabia and the UAE into complete darkness by striking their desalination and energy grids. As of this moment, the Strait of Hormuz is a trigger. One side sees it as their last shield. The other sees it as a noose that must be cut. Diplomatic channels through Pakistan and Qatar remain open, but the messages being exchanged are no longer about terms. They are about surrender. If the sun rises tomorrow and the strait remains closed, the narrative of the mistake will transition from a geopolitical critique into a historical eulogy for a civilization that gambled its future on a 21-mile stretch of water.